In the last few decades, the self-help genre of books has blown up. You can see them at the top of all those bestseller lists. And the numbers speak for themselves. Around 15,000 self-help books are published each year in just the United States. That's a big number. What's behind this boom in self-help literature? Why are all these books suddenly more focused on personal growth, success, and happiness? Are people becoming more self-reliant, or is there a conspiracy behind it? Let's find out the real reason for the rise in self-help book sales in today's video. You might be surprised where it all started. In 1859, a Scottish writer named Samuel Smiles introduced the world to his groundbreaking book, Self-Help. Back then, the idea was that success and solutions to poverty were just one step away. So these self-help books offered hope where there was none, especially to those who felt crushed by societal limits. Smiles's work created a movement, and that movement has grown into a market now worth over $41 billion. Over time, self-help evolved into something bigger. It wasn't just a few motivational tips anymore. Many people began treating it like a new religion or a philosophy. It became a mantra and provided hope to others, something to look forward to. And over the years, this movement has become a global enterprise. Each new book promises a better formula for happiness, wealth, or productivity. With US book sales skyrocketing to 18.6 million annually, there's an 11% growth that shows no signs of slowing. You might have noticed how bookstores stack these titles front and center, or how digital platforms are crammed with courses, coaching programs, and motivational seminars. This isn't a coincidence. The business model behind self-help thrives on the idea that you always need more. One book claims to help you manifest your dreams, but the next says you have to master a strict morning routine for success. These products create a cycle of dependency, a bit like consumer addiction, because each one tells you the same thing: you haven't fixed yourself yet. Have you ever felt the pressure to constantly succeed? Stay positive no matter what. Well, that mindset is a perfect example of individualism at work. Individualism is this cultural force that flips real social problems like unfair policies, systemic oppression, and growing wealth inequality into personal failures. Let's take a single mother struggling to pay her bills. In an individualistic world, it's not the low wages or lack of support that are the problem. With the individualism ingrained in us by self-help books, the mother isn't working hard enough. But is that really fair? Whether it's by accident or on purpose, self-help has turned into a perfect strategy. It makes sure that the blame doesn't fall on the system, but on the individual. While many people genuinely want to better themselves, the rise of self-help isn't just about personal growth. It's also about powerful alliances. But what does that mean? Well, these alliances include the elite. These are the people who want to keep the status quo. And then there are the governments. They usually find it convenient when people focus on self-improvement and not deeper societal failings. If we look at it through Foucault, power can be exercised through knowledge. It shapes behaviors and thoughts. Through spreading knowledge about individualism in self-help books, alliances and governments control the population without the use of force. When people are told that success is all about mindset, there's no need for censorship. Why? Because governments are more than happy when citizens take advice about working harder and repeating positive affirmations. That kind of thinking keeps dissatisfaction at a low. Instead, people channel their frustrations at themselves. And let's be honest, a society full of individuals working on their own personal growth and staying positive, no matter what, is far less likely to stand together and demand real systemic change. The first quality of a powerful distraction tool is its addictive nature. Research in psychology helps us understand why self-help can be so compelling. For this, we'll need to look at the false hope syndrome. It was introduced by Polivy and Herman in 2002. And it explains how repeated promises of rapid self-change create a cycle. First, you feel excitement because of the temporary success, and then there's disappointment. Each time people fail, they blame themselves and search for a new formula. This adds to the multi-billion-dollar industry. Another psychological aspect is the illusion of control, famously studied by Ellen Langer in 1975. People often believe they can influence outcomes more than they actually can. Combined with Schultz's 1997 research on anticipatory dopamine release, which shows how the brain rewards us for simply expecting a positive result, the promise or hope of better days with each purchase releases a jolt of dopamine. Forming new habits and routines provide a sense of satisfaction to people, something to achieve in the short term. The cycle continues. You feel a buzz of hope. Life gets busy. You fall short. Then you chase the next shining solution. This cycle becomes a weapon in the hands of those who benefit from an individualistic approach. If everyone believes that their lives depend only on personal effort, there's little incentive to form unions, join protests, or vote for policies. Plus, the rise of entrepreneurship culture has made this mindset worse. Social media floods us with inspiring quotes, making it easy to forget that genuine change may require more than that. Why do you think in countries with higher inequality, self-help books usually top the bestseller lists? At this point, you might be asking, if self-help is so good for those in power, should we toss them all into the trash? The answer isn't that simple. Self-help can give you real benefits, like tips on time management or emotional well-being. But it can also push the idea that major problems like systemic racism, lack of healthcare, and inadequate housing are personal challenges that can be overcome by willpower alone. This conveniently diverts attention from the powerful forces shaping people's lives. Consider Bill Gates. He once wrote that being poor isn't your fault, but dying poor is. That statement may sound motivational, but there's a catch. Gates was born into a wealthy family with connections that granted him direct access to top IBM executives when he launched Microsoft. That kind of head start isn't ordinary luck. It's an entire network that most people could never dream of having. Structural problems don't disappear just because you adopt a can-do attitude. So the key here is to find balance between personal development and collective responsibility. Learning how to budget, mastering your emotional triggers, or setting clear goals can improve your life. But real progress demands more than motivational quotes or affirmations. The concept of toxic positivity warns us about the dangers of glossing over negative feelings. When self-help insists you keep smiling through all hardships, you might push down valid emotions. You might not look for solutions or even ignore important things. Blindly embracing the notion that we alone shape our destinies can lead to resentment or shame when massive roadblocks appear. Think about it. Fixing broken healthcare systems, tackling racial bias in hiring, or improving underfunded schools, those aren't problems we can solve just by adjusting our morning routines and thinking positive. We need to see that governments and institutions have responsibilities too. Many people, from single parents juggling multiple jobs to recent graduates drowning in student debt, face problems that no amount of optimism or better time management can fix. Many problems are deeply rooted in flawed systems. Meanwhile, it's convenient for governments when we focus on fixing our mindset instead of questioning policies that fuel inequality. This is where it is vital to distinguish between personal responsibility and systemic accountability. Let's not forget the power of collective effort. If more people understood how government policies and corporate systems affect daily life, they might push for wider reforms, whether that means fair wages, stronger unions, or better healthcare. Self-help books can still sit on your nightstand, but let them be a supplement, not a substitute for questioning how your world is shaped. So keep improving your mindset, but also ask the tough questions. When you combine personal development with the willingness to confront powerful institutions, you transform from a lone struggler into a proactive force for change.